In this video, our good friend Dre, Mr. VashSky, host of Freshly Squeezed here on OG 55. He went to Disneyland recently. He went to Knott's recently. We're going to break down the comparisons of his experience, operations, all of it up next. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Orange Grove 55. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in today. I have two of my great dear friends and collaborators with me today. I have George, Mr. Disney Family Man 23, host of Citrus Corner. I also have our dear friend, Mr. VashSky Dre, host of his show on here called Freshly Squeezed. I'm going to start up with George, and then we're going to work our way down to Vash, and we're going to get started. George, where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
You can find me on my own YouTube channel at Disney Family Man 23. You can also find me on Twitter at Disney George, on Instagram under the Disney Family Man 23 banner, and of course, as always, on your channel OG with Citrus Corner.
Perfect. And Dre, VashSky, where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
Everybody can find me. The best place to interact with me is at VashSky on Twitter. That's at VashSky. If I typed it in correctly, it should be at the bottom of my little profile picture here. So hopefully it works out. And then the best place to see me is on your channel, Orange Grove 55, Freshly Squeezed. Your source for juice news info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. So that's where you can find me. But you can find me today, Newport Beach, California. That's where I'm laying down stakes right now. So
I was just going to say, before we get started, in your position in that great view, I mean, you could be like the weather forecaster. You could be the next Bob Iger there.
Exactly, right? Here in beautiful Southern California, yeah, we're going to have a great clear skies, sunny day right now, but you might want to go ahead and hold on to that. The storm's coming in Monday, Tuesday, and throughout the week, so... Yeah, there you go.
So today we're going to talk about, Dre's been visiting California and kind of hitting up all the parks, Disneyland and even Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of thoughts on a lot of different aspects in regard to these trips in terms of operations, just overall experience and what have you. Dre, let's start off with, okay, so let's kind of set the table a little bit here. So you visited Disneyland how many times? That was it one time this past month?
So throughout the past couple of weeks, I've only visited one time. And the reason for that is because, while we're down here, I mean, look at this, right? You don't want to take yourself away from this. But no, I mean, it's been hard to get a reservation, to be quite honest with you. We'd love to have gone more, but it's just, when you... You can only refresh the calendar so much until nothing really is available. So it's even for ticket holders, it's been kind of tough to get reservations to go to these theme parks. So we've only been able to go one time. And but Knott's Berry Farm, that's a completely different story, as we'll find out here.
Now for Knott's, and for those of you at home that are not aware, because Knott's is very much a locals regional park here in California. Knott's Berry Farm is only about 5 or 10 minutes away from Disneyland. It's in Buena Park. It's a great little park. It's been around a long time, like 100 years, I think now.
Right.
And it's great. It really is fantastic. Smaller in scope than Disneyland, different energy, but it has a ton of charm. But Dre, now you visited Knott's twice, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I've been able to visit Knott's twice. One as we were leaving Southern California the last time, and we were able to come back relatively in short order. So as a result, when we were coming in and we were waiting for our hotel to be ready, we popped in for a few hours, and I was able to see a little bit more of what they had to offer. So. Yeah, it's pretty great. And the reason why we were is because, Knott's doesn't really have a reservation system to speak of right now.
I was just going to ask, what is like that process as far, because I've never been to Knott's Berry Farm. Eventually I would like to in the future, but what is the process as opposite of how you have to go tackle the reservation system at Disney?
Right.
Right. It's simple. It's just like the good old days, right? You buy a ticket or you buy an annual pass and you walk in. I mean, there is no reservation system to speak of. There's nothing where you're refreshing any apps or any desktop websites or whatever. It's none of that. You simply, I mean, what we did was we were going to Knott's Berry Farm, like I said, the last day of our previous trip, and we were like, well, the ticket prices are pretty good, but honestly, when we were looking at it, we had gone to Disneyland a couple days prior, right? And the day ticket price for that park was, I believe it was $119 per person to just walk into Disneyland for that day. One park, no park hopper. I believe it was a tier 2 ticket, if I'm not mistaken, and that was just to walk in that day. For Knott's Berry Farm, I believe the walk-in price was $59. Wow. And it's like, okay, well, that's pretty good on itself, right? But honestly, we looked at the annual pass, and it's $125 unlimited access, and for $6 more than we walked into Disneyland, we could walk into Knott's for the rest of the year, for $6 more. And then if you want parking's, it can be anywhere from $15-$20 or whatever. But if you want all your parking, just add on $75, and that takes you $2 less than even a platinum pass. So I just got a platinum pass for myself, and the folks were able to get annual passes, and now we have unlimited access whenever we want, no reservations required for that park, and that's the difference.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Now I have a question in regards to the pricing versus value.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a cheaper price.
Yeah.
Right. For Knott's.
Right.
Does it match the value you get? Like, because I haven't been to Knott's, Dre. Mm-hmm. Like and I'm an old geezer. I really am. Oh. I think I'm pretty old.
Yeah.
I haven't been since like the mid '80s. I'm not even joking. Like maybe mid to late 80s. It's been a long time. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Does the value match what you got? Would you be willing to even pay a little more for it? Was it like, how was the experience versus what you paid for?
I think we got one heck of a deal, honestly, because yes, you're right about the characterization of Knott's before, right? It's a much smaller park. I mean, let's be honest here. It's probably smaller than Disney California Adventure is right now. But I mean, it's been around for, they're celebrating their 100th anniversary. That's not the 100th anniversary of the park. It's just the 100th anniversary of the Knott's family, having owned that property and built it up. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, but that's all right. That's okay. But I mean, it's just been, it has a stunning history. It's been built over, and like you said, it's a lot of charm. And they've been able to pack, some pretty decent experiences within it. Now, obviously, right, Cedar Point, now kind of owns Knott's Berry Farm, and they've kind of added some Cedar Point type attractions in there, right? But it's still got a lot of that charm that kind of Walter Knott kind of imbued into the place to begin with. And as far as value goes, it's very interesting, right? Disneyland obviously has just raw attraction count's not even close, right? It's just, right. We have so many distinct world-class attractions between the two parks of Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, right? And so for $14.99 to get that's I would say it's pretty decent for what you're getting just in terms of raw attractions. But really, it comes down to access, right? It comes down to that kind of value statement, and it's great that you have the ability to reserve between these two places of Disney California Adventure and Disneyland, but how much access are you really getting? As we've now learned, a lot of people want to be in that park as well, and through the reservation system, you're not going to be able to always get that, and it might be challenging. So that's it. That kind of hurts that valuation. Whereas Knott's, yeah, it's smaller, and you don't get nearly as many world-class attractions, but for what it has, I'd say it's a really, really good stunning value in that the access is right there. For people who kind of treat the parks as, we say locals kind of treat it as a local hangout spot. You can do that at Knott. And as opposed to Disney, they actually encourage it, right? They have deals for annual pass holders when it comes to like parking, but also like, all year food passes and drink passes and stuff like that. They encourage revisitation in that way. But what they lack, at least right now in terms of attractions, they really do make up for it in entertainment. The entertainment offerings, I gotta be honest, they've really blown me away with what they're able to do at that park. Obviously, in Disneyland's heyday before the pandemic, right? They have world-class, experiences like, Aladdin or like, Frozen, even Mickey and the Magical Map was really, really high quality, and even some of the smaller shows. But it, as we remember, those no longer exist, at least right now. So for right now, I think Knott's is actually killing the entertainment game way more than what Disney's offering, and at a just, rock bottom prices.
Wow.
I think it's fascinating.
That's wild. George, any thoughts on that in terms of like Knott's and the entertainment, and just is it surprising to you as someone who's never been to Knott's? Is it surprising to you? Not surprising?
For someone that has never been to Knott's, but yet it makes sense because of everything. Because I've been to Disneyland and Walt Disney World many of times, especially after the shutdown and from the pandy and everything, that everything is not up to par of what it was prior, but yet those prices still keep going up and up. And it's like, well, how far is a person willing to pay that premium price, but not get that world-class, entertainment and experience that we're so used to Disney having. Now, Dre, I wanted to ask you, as far as the crowd levels go and the attendance, would you say that they were decent as far as in Knott's Berry than at Disneyland, where you could say, okay, I can understand why Disneyland has the reservation system because they're trying to,
Right.
hit a certain capacity? Do they have that same issue with Knott's where you could just, as you said, you just get a ticket and walk in?
Right, that's a great question. I was actually worried about that myself. Now, keep in mind we haven't been able to go on like the peak big days like Saturdays or Sundays. We've only been able to hit a couple of Fridays. But from our observation, from when we walked in, I was worried that like the ride lines times are going to be just out the wazoo, and they're just going to pack them in as full as they can. But honestly, they were extremely reasonable. The walkways. Yes, there's people in them, obviously, but not nearly as congested as what I experienced at Disneyland even a couple days prior. On like a Wednesday, on Wednesday at Disneyland, it was packed, right? What's really strange, and we'll get into maybe why that is, the walkways at Disneyland are packed right now, but the rides really aren't. Wait times are actually, at least pre-Genie Plus, were actually quite reasonable. Considering how everybody's in that walkway, whereas Knott's, room to breathe, everybody's walking around having a good time, and the ride wait times, they averaged, I think like anywhere from 5 minutes to maybe 15 minutes at the longest. It really is pleasant, a lot more than you might expect for the level of access that people have to Knott's and the value that they're providing. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think that there is something to be said though, like. The demand is definitely a huge sticking point, I think, with the decision making of both companies. Like, Disney obviously just it's an elephant in the room. It's a monster. Disney is a worldwide. People from India know what Disneyland is. People from a lot of people, even from your home state of Arizona, probably don't even know what Knott's is.
That's true.
There's a huge demand gap there.
Yeah.
I kind of, look, anytime you have a place or a product that has a lot of demand, there's going to be a level of kind of inconvenience, so to speak, with that product. Like, I love as a Southern Californian, I love, and Dre, since you're out here in Southern California, I hope you hit it up. In-N-Out Burger, baby. In-N-Out Burger.
Absolutely. We hit it up. I think it was the first night while we were here. Are you kidding me? You got to hit up In-N-Out. Now, we have them in Arizona, but that meat's just a little bit nicer over here. It's just a little bit fresher.
Yeah, In-N-Out has a huge demand here in California. Huge demand. Yeah. And so when you go to an In-N-Out burger, if you're driving through an In-N-Out burger, the car line for In-N-Out extends sometimes like a block. And it's blocking like even the driveways to other shopping centers and things like that. The demand is so high. So there's like a hassle that sort of comes with the demand, right? If you want the great In-N-Out burger and the product they give you, the hassle is you got to wait in a 15-car line to get that burger.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I head over to Carl's Jr.
Carl Jr. makes a reference.
Yes, shout out to Carl, baby. Hey, sponsor Disney Family Man 23, Carl Jr. Because the man goes to you quite a bit. I reach out to him, man. Marketing department, Carl Jr. Reach out to George. No, but
exactly.
But like In-N-Out Burger, like the demand is so high, so there's a level of hassle that comes along with that demand. I think that's kind of built into the equation when it comes to Disney as well. I think it's sort of like, because of the demand, there's always going to be that level, that threshold of a hassle, because everybody wants to be there. We're not, while a charming, incredible regional park just doesn't have that same demand. So they have a little more. It really is. Look, the demand is really the gift and the curse, because Knott's has more freedom, so to speak, to sort of like, you don't have that to worry about like the massive wait times and things like that, because it isn't like an international draw. So yeah, that is an issue. And I think Disney does have to react differently than a Knott's would even, but like when you're spending money, like you and your family, you guys bought the annual passes. Yeah. Hey, like for you as a consumer though, like you guys are winning big, because like you're spending a little bit. You're not waiting in any fucking line, right? You're going, like, everything works out as a consumer for you personally. It works out perfectly,
Yeah. No, it absolutely does. And on those world-class experiences that you have at Disneyland, obviously they have their maintenance budgets, right? They have to be maintained to a certain extent. A lot of the, operations is really where it gets quite interesting when it comes to Knott's and Disney, right? Disney is extremely rigid, but they are so because of efficiency, right? They have so many guests that come there every single year that hit those major attractions, that they have to be efficient. They have to be rigid in their operations in order to get as many people through those attractions and to those experiences, as safely, but also as efficiently as possible, right? Whereas Knott's Berry Farm, it's a little bit more of a laid-back attitude. You might have maybe one or two ride operators, working an entire coaster or whatever, and so as a result, things are a little bit, those dispatch times where, like Space Mountain, right? I think their target dispatch time is like 14 seconds, which we'll talk more about a little bit later. But, for like Jaguar, I think I timed it at probably 3-4 minutes or something. I mean, it was crazy, right? So, as a result, if those lines do get long, they're not going to go very fast. But but yes, I mean, demand is crucial, is key. I will say some of that, Disney's kind of created, right, through their reservation-based systems. We've talked about this before, but through these reservation-based systems, they've created demand rather than just purely managing it. And from a business and standpoint and everything like that, that's great. But for the consumer, it's tough. It's tough to get that full valuation that you might have paid for when it comes to an annual pass in particular, but even for tickets, right? I mean, we literally could not go to Disneyland as much as we would like, simply because we were locked out from doing so, from people who, might either be squatting on those dates and times, or maybe just reserving them in the event they do go. So it's unfortunate. It's the beast that you have to deal with, right? But I just think, it's interesting. Have you guys seen this video from Defunctland about FastPass?
Yes.
I have. Phenomenal video, by the way.
I absolutely incredible. I was able to, for the first time, to see it last night, and it's just like it's incredible how Disney has tried to deal with that demand, and maybe some of their efforts just have the opposite reaction, right? And sometimes it's to their benefit, sometimes it's not. And I think there are ways of dealing with demand, and I think Disney has. I think looking at that history, I think they've struck out more than they've actually hit a home run. And I just wish that Disney could provide a little bit more of that flexibility back, but maybe that ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, I think that that's a good point, Dre. You bring up a very good point, like where the understanding that the demand issue is a problem, but not so much of like Disney reacting to the demand problem. It's more of how they're reacting. It's the execution of that demand. That's the issue. That's a great point, Dre. Fantastic point. I kind of wanted to bring up cast members.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Cast members, because Disney prides themselves, and rightfully so. Most of the time, I have a phenomenal experience with cast members at Disney, you know? But Disney prides themselves in that Disney difference. So, you know what I'm saying? They call it the Disney difference.
Yes.
Now, going to Knott's, how would you compare? And then we'll bring George into the conversation. I just want to ask you real quick. How was the comparison in regards to the Disney cast in regard to the Knott's cast? Was there a difference? Was there that Disney difference, or was it even worse or better, or what? Like,
this is a great question, because there has been a lot of talk about cast, right? Most recently, specifically regarding pay and regarding what they have to go through and all these other things. I think it's a very fascinating conversation. And I don't mean to belabor it, but let me take you through a couple of my thoughts of what's going through my head right now. Because going to Knott's, is it the Disney quality? Gonna be honest, not. It's not, right? But hey, you know what? They are friendly, and they do a pretty good job. Inconsistent, yes, for sure. But you know, people are, because of the laid back attitude, and because people are kind of getting in there at a value, people are a little bit, you know, they're not as demanding to them. And I think in response, I think cast at Knott's Berry Farm are a little bit more, I don't know, they're a little bit laid back themselves, and there's maybe less pressure put on them in terms of the operational realities that maybe Disney has to contend with on a daily basis, right? And I you know, when you get people that are happy at Knott's, I mean, they're really happy. They're really happy to see you, and they have a really good attitude about them. Like, you know, some of the Disney standards in terms of look and you know, some of the things that they do to let's say, I don't want to say mitigate personality, but you know, just try to, you know, put a little bit later on a little bit, right, to complement the show. And Knott's doesn't really do that. So you know, it's you know, it's a little bit different. But hey, everybody was pretty friendly. Everybody was pretty nice. And you know, you ask a question, they were pretty well informed, right? Cool. The level of service, yes, it's not Disney, but at the same time, you know, when you're looking at Disney now, it's very interesting, right? I think Disneyland's cast members have really taken a decline or taken a hit when it comes to the quality we might expect from them, and the friendliness and the level of service than in years prior. I think they really have declined. I'm sorry, cast members. I just gotta point this out, but it's not entirely their fault, right? I think here's what happened. You know, when the pandy happened, right? When it shut everything down, everything like that, and Disney was forced to fire, you know, as many cast members as they required just to stay afloat, and all these kind of things, right? You know, when you have cast members who are long tenured there, who, you know, are working day in, day out, you do have a certain level of people who are experienced at various levels, maybe a few months and maybe a few years in, and they all kind of work together for, like, say, a department or an attraction, right? Let's say Space Mountain. Space Mountain, everybody works there. Everybody works there. You know, they've been working there for a little while. It's an attraction that requires high efficiency. So they kind of get their bearings on other roles and then are incorporated into Space Mountain, right? So somebody going there has got to be working for the company for a number of months. You know, they get into this kind of workflow with other people who have been there for years, and everybody kind of maintains level of standard and quality because as far as the group dynamic goes, everybody's there, you know, working there for maybe months to years, and everybody keeps themselves up, right? Everybody kind of maintains this level of quality amongst themselves. Well, when the pandy happened and you get 412 days and stop right there on a dime, but you want to come back with that attraction up, you know, a lot of those guys that they have brought back or maybe have hired don't have that experience, right? They don't have that kind of culture that has, you know, manifested for so long and has kind of maintained this level of quality. So when everybody gets in there, everybody's kind of rusty, right? Or they just haven't been working there at all. And that culture, I think that cultural shift, that cultural dynamic has really taken, you know, had a number on the level of quality that we might have expected from cast members in years prior. Everybody's kind of at this depressed level, and it kind of shows in how they treat the guest and that quality of service.
Yeah, no, you make some fantastic points. I'm going to respond, but first I want to let George chime in here. George, you haven't been to Knott, so you can't make that comparison, but how would you say the cast members from Walt Disney World, because that you have experienced Walt Disney World and Disneyland, how would you say your experience has been with that?
I could honestly say that from both coasts, that the cast members are really not that different in comparison. However, I do concur with Dre was saying, prior to the pandy as to opposed to now, that you could definitely see, I don't want to say in every cast member, but you could definitely see some of the quality of what we are known as in the Disney community of what is the standard for a typical cast member, of how it kind of dips compared to prior years as to what it is now, unfortunately. But I do feel that it's because, again, what Dre was saying as far as with maybe not enough cast members coming back that was originally let go, or new cast members that may have not had the over aesthetics of the training to what goes into the to being a cast member. I think maybe in time it'll get better. I mean, if they can kind of, you know, get everyone on that same page to, you know, bring all the cast members back to the level that we're used to. But I think as of right now, just because everything in a company standpoint is so shaken that it's basically we're at mid-level right now.
Yes, and I would concur with both of you fellas. And like, here's the thing, and a lot of content creators, what they do is they sort of pander. Not sort of, they really do pander. They'll say every cast member is just amazing and amazing. And look, if you're a cast member and you're watching this, you know that's not true. I'm sure you do your job fantastic. I'm sure you can name at least on one hand a few of your colleagues that aren't pulling their weight, right?
I think you're right, OG. I think but it's a tragic reality, right? It's just
reality.
That's any workplace, right? Disney is no different. And while it's in the berm, while it's, you know, they create this kind of this kind of like this brand godliness for themselves, right? We're the highest quality that we can possibly get. The reality is they're people like you and I. Right? And they have their bad days, they have their good days. And when it came to reopening a park like Disneyland, or even Walt Disney World for that matter, I mean, they had to get who they could, right? And some of those people, you know, maybe you would have turned them away, you know, a couple of years ago, but they don't have the luxury right now, right? They have a certain minimum number of roles, and they had to fill them. And look, maybe that quality does get better, and maybe those people that maybe you can name on one hand, you know, maybe they do, you know, increase their level of quality, or maybe they're let go or whatever. But it's you're seeing that a lot more, It's just
You are.
it's just the reality.
Yeah, it is, and it's really sad because I can honestly say it became that of the whole Walt Disney Company,
Yeah.
not even just for the cast members, because we all looked at Disney as this workable machine that will never that would never break down, that would never need an oil tone or anything of that matter. Where it's like now, you know, as you mentioned, Dre, it's the reality that companies can fall hard, and Disney, along with a lot of other companies during the pandemic, got hit by it.
They got hit hard. I mean, they took billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of loss, and yes, that manifests itself on a kind of a profit or income sheet, right? A quarterly earnings report, but it also manifests itself in other ways that maybe you don't think of. And I think one of the issue with cast members is one of them. I got to be honest, on my most recent trip, I just saw some things I just never thought I would have expected, and the culture has definitely changed.
At Disneyland.
Yeah, at Disneyland, yeah. There are cultural traditions that have been maintained ever since Walt's day, and they've passed those things down to new cast members and stuff, and everybody kind of keeps to that level of quality and standard. I mean, yes, it has slipped from the time of the 1960s, but it's still remained relatively high, especially for that caliber of employment. But that when that break happened and everybody had to come back, who's there to pass on those traditions? Who's there to keep those standards high? Everybody's just trying to get by and kind of fill each day's worth of guests and so forth, and because of that we've kind of really experienced it. For example, like Space Mountain, right? Everybody talks about the lack of cast members and what effects that might have, and they go, well, a lot of attractions are breaking down more regularly than they do. And you kind of think, well, how can that be? How can that happen, right? And the shortage of roles is very interesting and how that affects operations. For example, like at Space Mountain, right? When we walked up to get into the queue of Space Mountain, like there's supposed to be, I think, like two or three people there manning those entrances to fulfill, disability access service, or now would be Genie Plus, and just normal ride entry, right? When we walked up, nobody was there. The one person that they had signed to that role had walked out of their post. It was just unfathomable. It was just unthinkable that could happen, but that actually happened. And they had one cast member who was, if you know the entrance to Space Mountain, that you enter on a lower level, you go up a ramp, and then that's when you actually enter the attraction. But you can actually see that entrance from that overhead position. That's where a cast member was watching that position while another cast member was just gone from their post. I couldn't fathom it before. I mean, that's just a very uncharacteristic move by Disney. Usually those positions are manned at all times. But then you get on the attraction, right? And if you know Space Mountain operations, they're tight, right? That dispatch window is very, very short, and it has to be that rigid because of the amount of rockets they have on Space Mountain. You could actually get to a point where if you don't load them as efficiently as possible, they could back up and cascade and bring the entire attraction down. So it's got to be super tight, right? Well, some of the cast members that would be there to help with that loading just simply aren't there. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's usually like, hey, get up to the gates. They want you kind of right there, right? So that you can just, enter as soon as the last person exits. And some of those cast members just weren't there to facilitate that. And you could see them trying, they were getting backed up a lot more than I had previously experienced or seen. And like I said, if you back up enough, that attraction will come down. So that's just one way where the shortage of cast members and maybe the lack of standards affect operations and can ruin somebody's day by Space Mountain being down unnecessarily.
Now, can I ask you, Dre, to your knowledge of what you have experienced, do you feel that, and I can't believe I'm actually asking this question,
sure,
as far as with Disney and cast members, but here we go. Do you think it's more not having enough cast members, or do you think it's more of sheer laziness upon the cast members who are already hired, and Disney has their hands tied of saying, well, we need the help, but yet we can't find the help?
I think it's a number of issues. I think the lack of long-term cast members who have been there, who can kind of pass these traditions down and maintain this level of quality, I think hurts it a lot. I think, yeah, honestly, it's kind of the take what you can get kind of attitude that Disney kind of has to have, right? They have to have Disneyland open. They have to have these attractions manned and cast members staffed. And, you know, when you don't have that kind of pick of the litter, so to speak, you kind of have to take who you can get, and that contributes to it too. And once you get to a group dynamic, right, where everybody might not be, let's say, at the top of their game, so to speak, that kind of depresses everybody, and everybody kind of gets complacent, right? Everybody's like, well, they're not really going above and beyond. Why should I, kind of thing, right? I think that's really affected the Disneyland Resort operation and the quality that we might have previously expected. And look, this is not to say that cast members don't have a lot on their plate right now, right? I think they do, more than at any time that I can really think of. They aren't just, you know, people who have to you know, facilitate the daily operations, but also they have to take on a new product that the company wants to debut in the form of Disney Plus and figure this whole thing out and help guests, you know, navigate that. They also have to, you know, make sure that everybody's mask is on when they go inside. And that's kind of one of the things that's interesting about Knott's Disneyland, right? At Disneyland, we know that you have to have a mask on over your face whenever you go into an indoor experience, attraction, shop, or indoor facility, right? Knott's Berry Farm, nope. You know, and it's kind of funny because Knott's Berry Farm, you know, the way they do it, and I understand, you know, there are different opinions about all this, and you know, people could have their disagreements, but it just kind of felt normal there at Knott's because they didn't enforce those policies. If you want to wear a mask, you can, obviously. But they just, you know, it's just, hey, we're open, you know.
It was more so of what each person was comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. And it just felt normal. It just felt like you're, you know, just going to a theme park pre-pandemic. Whereas Disneyland, you know, they're rigid, and I think that kind of rigid operational philosophy that they have to maintain, you know, it does take a toll on people who might not be cut out for that, right? And I think we're seeing that, and it's not to say that cast members don't try their best, not to say that they don't have a lot on their plate right now. They absolutely do. But as a guest, I'm just saying, I'm just providing feedback, honest feedback. We are starting to experience it a little bit.
Well, and you know, here I had a little bit of an experience. I was doing some Christmas shopping a few weeks back over at Downtown Disney. Yeah, over at Downtown Disney, and I was at the World of Disney store, and I bought a ton of shit that day. I mean, I had arms full of stuff, right? And I get it. We're a Disney family here, you know. So I was doing some shopping, you know. But here's the thing: I'm in line, and it's like the line that I was in at World of Disney was like at least 25, 30 people deep. Okay. The line was snaking around, and it was long. Okay. Oof. I'm looking behind the counter, and look, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, because I don't know what the situation is. Okay. There's a line of all these people snaking around, right? I'm sitting in and holding all this stuff. I'm wanting to give Disney my money. They must have, I swear to God, they must have had 6 or 7 cast members behind the counter. Okay. 2 of them were actually on registers. Okay.
What?
2 of them were on registers. The rest of them were having side conversations about, I don't know what. They were doing other things. The rest of them were doing everything else but ring people up. Now you have a line that's snaking. You think that like some of these cast members would be like, hey, maybe we should like jump on a register and move the line a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing. It was 2 cast members, and even 2 cast members, you guys, I'm being generous because one of the cast members was scanning stuff, but I don't even know if he was ringing up. It might have been like inventory stuff or like returns or something else going on.
Oh my
He was
gosh.
off to the side doing scans. I don't know what he was doing, but there was really, I mean, for all intents and purposes, probably just one. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what that is. Like George mentioned, is it laziness? I don't know. Maybe all those people just didn't want to ring up and they're like, screw it. I'm going to just stay here and just kick it. It could be that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or it could be a directive from management. Hey, we only want you and you on the registers. The rest of you do this, this, and this. It could be that as well. So I don't want to blame the cast members because it could be a manager directive that, we only want 2 people on the registers right now. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
But the fact that World of Disney, next to the Emporium on Main Street, one of the most popular shopping spots at the resort, I'm at a register. There's a line behind me snaking through the freaking store, and there's 2 people that are actually working and the registers, and the rest of them are all in the background just kind of doing whatever. And I even told the guy in front of me, I'm like, hey, is this crazy? I mean, am I nuts? Like, what's going on? Like, we haven't moved in like 20 minutes. And the guy's like, yeah. And the guy in front of me ended up taking his stuff and going to another register. I don't know how successful he was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just stuck with it because if I waited this long already, I'm just might as well stick it out.
Anyone that was willing to stand in line with me, it's like after this experience, when we're all done, meet me at Carl's Jr. Fries and sodas for everybody.
Yes, Carl's.
Right.
Yeah,
Carl's, man.
It was ridiculous, and like this is the thing, and this isn't just Disney. To be fair, this isn't just Disney. I go to my local Target and I experience a lot of similar stuff. There's lines through the store, and they have 2 people ringing up. Like this is the most, like, as a business from a business perspective, this is literally the most important aspect of your business.
Absolutely.
Taking people's money.
Absolutely. And that's where in a way Disney kind of has that cross ties, because compared to Target, I mean, you have, how could I actually put this, where you're putting out more money at this resort. So again, because you are spending, money on merchandise, money on food, money to even enter in a park, not even knowing if you're going to get reservations for it.
Yeah.
You would think automatically that, okay, if it was a management decision, it's like, okay, we need to step up and give these people what they want to give us, which is essentially the almighty dollar.
I don't understand it, George. I don't understand it. I was in line probably half an hour, 40 minutes. And that's fine.
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's fine. Whatever. I'll wait. It was Christmas shopping. I got to do it sometime, so I'll just wait.
See, it's one thing if you're waiting in a long line where you see the cast members or workers, employees doing their best. You have one person bagging while the other person is ringing up. And it's like, okay, it's just that time of year. But when you're physically standing in a line where you see lane 3, 4, 5, and 6 completely empty, but you have 5 or 6 employees or cast members or what have you standing around, it just makes you question it, whether it's them doing it deliberate, but you're standing there with the mindset of saying, okay, there's more cast members back there, there's more registers, let's get this line moving.
Right, exactly. And that was one of the dark spots in that trip. And now we actually ended up eating, I guess you would say, brunch. I don't know. At Storytellers over at the Grand Cali, we ended up having some brunch or lunch, whatever you want to call it. And I had the opposite experience there. Our waitress, I think her name, and I hope I'm not getting it wrong, her name was Esmeralda, I believe, and she was phenomenal. Top tier, Disney difference, nailed it, A+, 100%. And she was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So it's weird because at Disney, I'm seeing a lot of this lately where it's like you get like that Disney difference, A+ kind of customer service, and then you're getting like Target. It's not the greatest. So.
Can I ask you this? And I don't want to come across prejudice or anything, but if that's her name, Esmeralda, was she more seasoned as far as like
Like, is she older? Is that what you're asking?
Age-wise, yeah. Would she seem like she was more seasoned to being a cast member?
Yeah, she was older. I don't know how long she's been there, but she was probably my mom's age, and she was phenomenal. I don't know how long she's been with Disney.
That's
older.
what makes me wonder if it's because, again, Disney is tied to, depending on, hey, we can get the help, let's just take it. Where when you have like these out of, and I'm going to probably sound horrible for saying this, out of high schooler type of people trying to get their first job, and it's like, oh, my parents are making me get a job, to learn responsibility. And it's like, okay, well, they're learning the ropes, but Disney already has a caliber of their cast members that you should already know the ropes.
Yeah, no, Esmeralda knew the ropes. She was seasoned. At least she came off as seasoned. I like I said, I don't know her tenure, but she was very professional, extremely courteous. Everything about her was top notch. The World of Disney experience was terrible, and again, I can't fault the cast members. I don't know if they were told, because I have a job too. I don't just do YouTube. I have a 9-to-5 job as well. And sometimes a lot of decisions that my job makes at a corporate level and tells me what to do, I don't agree with it. I think it's bad customer service. Yeah. They might just be doing what their boss told them. So that's fair. Right. But whatever they decided or their boss decided that day was not a good call. Was not a good call at all. It was bad customer service to have a line snaking through the store and 2 people ringing up. One of them, I wasn't even sure they were ringing up, to be honest with you. Like I said, they could be scanning returns or something, because he seemed to kind of be doing his own thing a little bit. It was a mess. It was a total mess. And we're in line giving you our money. We're wanting to give you our money. Let us give you our money.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry about that. Background.
No worries.
Okay. I hopefully it's not drowning everybody out there. I really do apologize, guys.
No, it's fine.
But no, look, yes, exactly, right. I mean, you do have, and what we're experiencing right now is just an inconsistency, like you said, right? You have people who are great, who go out of their way, especially for like restaurant roles. I've noticed are, they're still up there, right? And I think it's appropriate. The incentive structure is a little bit different, right? Everybody's kind of, wanting those tips at the end of the day. They kind of have to, right? But we're seeing roles where historically we've had great levels of service, and it's just they've really fallen short. Man, that experience at World of Disney, that is nuts. I mean, when you talk about the square footage and price per square foot, how much they make on some of these retail locations at Disneyland Resort, like the Emporium, for example. I mean, that's one of the most profitable per square foot location in the world. You'd want that to be really, really dialed in there, and I would think World of Disney has got to be. I mean, it's up there, right? And you just have to have people there that are willing to collect. I think that's why Disney's kind of changing their philosophy when it comes to all of this. We're seeing like mobile checkout, right? Has anybody seen this at the parks at all, or heard about it?
I've seen it. I saw it actually that day at Downtown Disney, the mobile checkout. I've done mobile ordering for food, and I'll get into that in a second with you guys. But I'll let you go on with your point, Dre. I saw the signage for mobile checkout at the store, but I didn't use it.
Yeah, and the idea there is just reduce the level, the amount of cast members that you might require to facilitate that many transactions, but also too, I mean, you don't have to have the quickest cast members either, right? You don't have to have, cast members who are moving at a pretty good clip there, because largely what they're doing is just checking over purchases that you have made before you walk out the actual door. And I think that's why we're kind of seeing that. I think Disney themselves have noticed it's like, ooh, like, we can go one or two ways about this. Obviously, training and more time and everything like that. But we really have to find solutions now in order to capitalize. This time at this time, right? So it's just we're just seeing the kind of culture kind of be depressed a little bit, and I think that's running that's running through in the various roles. And I think the one thing that they might need is someone like a cultural management team or something like that, right? Where they kind of just go in and really take maybe a couple of weeks or something with long-time tenured cast members who kind of know what great operations and great customer service and great, that Disney difference actually looks like, and kind of imbues that onto the cast members there at that facility or in that role, or so to speak, for a couple of weeks, just to kind of get that culture, just to kind of get that mindset, that philosophy restored, and then they move on to somewhere else. I think that would really go far in terms of imbuing those traditions, those values that we visit these parks for.
Yeah, no, I agree, Dre. I agree. And the point of our videos is to help Disney. We're trying to help. If you're watching and you work there, we're only trying to help. Like, we want you to succeed. So
Absolutely.
This is constructive feedback, and Dre, that's a great proposal. I think something like that would have huge mileage, and like, I've even heard reports, it kind of touched upon the mobile food thing, where like people are using the mobile food app and waiting in a 30-minute line for their mobile order, while the stand-up line is a walk-up. Well, the whole selling point of mobile food order is to have the convenience, and you're creating it's more convenient not to do it.
Yes, exactly.
I have two experiences with that.
Go ahead.
One is the cozy cones, for which if you ever tried to do the mobile ordering of cozy cones, it becomes so bottlenecked with people trying to find a seat, standing around. It would have been more easier to just go in the line and just like, I want this, and it's and it's like, just stand in line and get your food and walk out, where it's like it's people just standing around waiting for 20 minutes to get mac and cheese in a cone cup.
Right.
Then the other one was Hungry Bear. That when I was there at 12 noon, all I wanted was a burger, and I had to come back at 3:50 to get that burger.
Oh my God, dude! See, that's not. And I had a similar situation back in the summertime with a corn dog. It was either the 30-minute wait in line, or the mobile order, which would be I have to wait 3 hours or 2 hours for my corn dog. And it was like, why am I going to wait 2 hours for it? I'm hungry now. I'll just sit in the line, So that's the problem with mobile ordering, is that it's less convenient, in a lot of ways. It's less convenient, and that's the whole selling point, is convenience. The whole reason why you would ever do mobile ordering is for the convenience, and it's not more convenient. So why am I going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what frustrates me a lot. Like, and those kind of things right there, when it's operationally, it's like, you've got everybody there, you've got enough cast members there, or at least you have enough to work with, right? People are at the door, they're willing to give you money, and it's just this transactional thing that's like, you screw it up right here. It's right here, where the ball is dropped, right? We've been hearing a lot of reports actually of, I know you love the Grand Cali there, OG, but we've been hearing a lot of reports lately about check-in, about the wait times for check-in. We don't have the luxury of some of the technological upgrades that Walt Disney World has undergone in the past 10 years. They've actually allowed for mobile check-in, where you connect, you don't even have to go to the registration desk or whatever. You just check in right on your phone and you're up in your room, right? Disneyland Resort doesn't really have that, and I wish they did. I wish they could find solutions to have that kind of service, because you're getting people who are spending top dollar. And I mean, look, Grand Cali prices, when you compare to rest of Southern California, I mean, they're very, very high, right?
Yeah.
And these people are paying top dollar, and they're waiting maybe up to an hour or maybe two to get into the room that they're paying for, and that's eating into the amount of stay time that they have. And it is frustrating, and you're just seeing operations take a big hit with some of their inefficiencies and some of the decisions that they've made.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I haven't stayed at the Grand Cali Well, it was May of this year was the last time I was there, and I did have a good experience. Now, I will say this: they did mess up our reservations.
Yeah, I
They did.
remember that. I
Remember
remember
that?
that.
They did
Yep.
mess them up. The names on the reservation and what have you. But they fixed it very fast, and they upgraded our room, and they were very accommodating. So I can't complain. The service that we got in regards to the whole thing was phenomenal. You know, hey, mistakes happen, but they recognized that, they upgraded us.
Sure.
There's no hard feelings. They handled it properly. But that was back in May. Things could be very different now. And, you know, I mean, in terms of the pandy, things are, you know, people are feeling more comfortable going out and stuff. So it might be a little different now. That's disappointing because I do love that hotel. I do love that hotel quite a bit. And it is more expensive. That's why I only go periodically, like every few years at most. But that's sad because that's my favorite on property hotel for sure.
Yeah, it really is because you know, there's a certain level of experience that you're expecting, especially when you're paying at this high price point, and you know these prices aren't getting cheaper, right? But to see the quality kind of slip, you know, it really is frustrating, and there are some cast members that really go out of their way.
Yeah,
Like I said, I can't reiterate it enough. There are cast members that actually do phenomenally, but let's not kid ourselves here, folks. Let's not put the rose-colored glasses on. There are some cast members who are just falling short. Now, maybe that's not their problem. Maybe it's more managerial. Maybe it's with their leads. Maybe, you know, they aren't inculcating a culture that really you know, maintains that level of quality. You know, maybe, you know, it could be any number of things, but I mean, it's starting to affect guest perception. It's starting to affect brand perception, and how people, you know, visit and think about visiting these parks again. And you know, I mean, that if people stop coming, that's going to hurt their jobs as well. So these things are important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I hope Disney's listening. You know, I hope they're listening. And I actually ended up getting, after my downtown Disney trip, I ended up getting a survey from Disney. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But ironically, though, it had nothing to do with my downtown Disney. It was all about the parks. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so I would have loved to have a little more. I wish the survey was more targeted for what I actually experienced that day, which was downtown Disney, but it was more about the parks, which, you know, but hey, they got their algorithms, whatever. But
right. And you know, those surveys, I've heard they're quite interesting with, you know, some of the responses, some of the questions that they're asking.
They are quite they are interesting, and they're quite extensive. I always do them. I always take time out to do them, but it took me like 15 minutes. I mean, it kept going and going and going.
I received a survey, but I found it quite interesting because it actually stopped me before I even continued, because the whole survey was only if I owned a business.
Oh, well, they're very targeted. Yeah, this was kind of like, mine was like, it was weird because my whole trip was downtown Disney, but then they started asking me about like branding and stuff. Like they were asking me like what brands, and they gave me like a bunch of different brands, Disney and non-Disney, and asked me what brands like me and my family like. And there was like stuff on there like the Minions and DreamWorks, and they were asking me about Star Wars, Harry Potter. They were asking about all the brands, and that was really focused. And then they got into the park stuff, but it went on forever. But I always do them because I just feel like it's important. Like that's the way you affect change, you know? Like a lot of people in our fan community, they just want to bitch and moan on Twitter, and they think that's going to change anything. It's not. You vote with your wallet, and you participate in these surveys. That's the way you affect change.
Well, oh, absolutely. And I've actually heard internally, you know, it's interesting that you bring up the brands and all that kind of, you know, in your survey results and your survey questions. I've actually heard internally that Disney is concerned about brand perception right now, not to an extent that maybe us as fans might not expect them to be, right? We always kind of think, well, they kind of think they're Disney, you know, so they're going to just do what they want to do. And from what I understand internally, they're actually kind of concerned about brand perception, and you know, in your case, it was more IP driven, but they do take those things those things seriously. Some of the surveys that I've heard that are asked, that I've heard that are sent out, even from people who may not book with them, maybe book with Universal, and they're going back and surveying them like, hey, why didn't you actually book with us? They are concerned about that perception of value and all these kind of things, because I think they're calling social media and some of their other optics or ways they get information, and finding that value is becoming a little bit of an issue. So keep those surveys coming, folks, because I have heard that they are concerned about it to a certain extent.
Yeah. No, you might be honest, something, Dre, because they even mentioned, I remember in the survey, they were even asking about like awareness of certain things. Like prior to your visit, they asked me a question, something like this. It was like, prior to your visit, have you heard of Avengers Campus? Were you aware of Avengers Campus? Prior to your visit, were you aware of the Galactic Star Cruiser? Prior to your visit, were you aware of this and that? And it was very much like this brand awareness kind of driven survey. So you might be onto something with this. Like they might be really kind of scoping things out. And
that looks like from marketing and seeing if their marketing is actually being tailored in the right places. Are those dollars going to are being used as efficiently as possible, and getting that message out there, especially to, you're probably more of a key demographic for them, and they want to know, hey, is this reaching you? Do you know about this kind of stuff? What is your level of interest in Disney? And if it's high, have you? And if it's low, have you? Kind of thing. That is absolutely fascinating. That's interesting.
It was very, very interesting. It was very, very interesting. So we'll see. But Dre, I want to thank you. I know you're on vacation right now, buddy, and I want to thank you for taking some time and kind of giving your insight and your experience in regards to both Disneyland Resort and Knott's. I got to get back to Knott's, brother. Like it's been, I'm telling you, man. I think Reagan was still president when I went to Knott's.
That's before my time. You can believe that.
I do believe so. I was a pretty young child. I do remember it, but I mean the soapbox racers were still there. So to kind of give you an idea, it was a while ago. I gotta check it out though. I've heard it's really, really good. I've heard they've really done a lot of great things over the years with that park. So I'm curious,
Listen, it impressed me. It really impressed me. Like, they have these cute little shops, and they have all their vendors. And it's very, very charming in that way. They have some great entertainment. I mean, they still have they have American ceremonial dances. They still have hey, Billy Hill and the Hillbillies. I don't know if any of you longtime Disneylanders have heard of them. They're there, and Crazy Kirky is there, and that's awesome. They have this amazing ice skating show. And they have kind of Broadway level performances still. Those things are restricted to the weekends, obviously, but I mean, it really impressed me. Like, it absolutely impressed me, the level of quality they were able to imbue in this park. And you just, you look across Buena Park into Anaheim, you just go, man, why can't Disney do some of these things? It's
and I think that'll hit Disney. I think that'll hit Disney as well.
Yeah,
even if guests still go to Disney, but if they start to see a decline in how long they are staying or going to the parks, because they're then breaking up their trip to say, hey, you know what, let's go to Universal, let's go to Knott's, let's go to SeaWorld or what have you, then you're basically handing the guests over to your competitors.
Right. And it's, you might have gotten them that time, but will you give them the next time?
Right.
And, it's interesting. We had discussed on Twitter a little bit about this, but, Knott's Berry Farm and even Universal to a certain extent, maybe not so much here, but, out east in Florida, I mean, they are inculcating really goodwill right now with their consumers and their guests, right? They really are putting it out there and giving people a value and giving people these incredible experiences that Disney was known for providing for many, many years. And we look at Disney fondly for those memories that they've given us, back then, and that goodwill they imbued. But Universal and Knott's are doing that today. And if this goes on for much longer, how's this going to all play out?
If every company was on the same level as that, then you could say, okay, everyone's on the same playing field. But what is it making it so difficult for Disney to reach the same standards that Universal and Knott's has, as you said, right now?
Well, in my opinion, I think it all comes down to demand. I think it's easier for, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on any of this, but I think it's much easier for a park or a resort that is trying to put more bodies in their park.
Right.
It's easier to kind of lift restrictions and welcome everybody in. But when you're Disney and you have a demand problem, when you have too many people already, it's not so easy to do that because you fall on one side of the issue or the other. Because if you let everybody in, like what Knott's and Universal does, then you have the problem of it being too congested, and then you get a lot of fan complaints about it being too crowded. But if you don't do that and you limit it more, then you're limiting demand for a place that's highly popular.
Right.
And now people are mad because I want to go to Disney and you're not letting me. So it's really, it's a tightrope. It's a tightrope. See, Knott is a regional park. They have a lot of room to spare in terms of bringing people in. Even Universal, they have a lot more room. But I got to say, though, I will have to say, even Universal, if you guys remember the lead up to Harry Potter Land opening at Hollywood, Hollywood, they were kind of implicating not the reservation system, but a lot of similar protocol and policies that Disney is now. When lead up to Wizarding World in 2016, they were starting to hike up their annual pass prices, hike up the tickets prices. They were trying to mitigate demand, and a lot of the same mitigating methods is really what Disney's trying now, which is interesting. But yeah, overall, I think the demand is a hard thing to deal with and work around. Because you fall on one side of this trap or the other. With Universal and Knott's really don't have that same problem, and that's the issue, I think.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Demand is something, and Disney's done a lot to foment some of that demand as well. I mean, they've embraced social media. They've embraced a couple of other practices that really kind of build that.
We just got so used to having something, had taken it for granted that it would always be there, exactly the way that it started out. And now because we had it taken away as a community, it's like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. In our own minds. And it is interesting. In your story, George, I believe they were asking if you owned a business. Is that right? Yeah, like they started out. They asked me a few questions, like, do you have like a personal, hard-driven business? If so, what is your business? Is it this? And of course, I don't own a business. So then it ended and it said, thank you for participating, but your answers, you are not in our category of what we are looking for.
Wow. That's funny.
It sounds a little elitist, to be honest. Elitist.
and look, when you have demand and you only have so much supply, right? Who are you going to target? You're probably going to target people who have some disposable income, who have, a couple. Hey, look, I mean, it's very interesting, the type of demographics that Disney's targeting right now. We just had a couple of corporate events at Disneyland within the last couple of weeks, right? Universal is also having its own corporate events, maybe not so much here, but in Florida. And that kind of battle is actually, from what I understand, is going on behind the scenes. For example, right, Epic Universe, apparently the way it's laid out, right, you have these kind of bubbles of lands around this kind of hub area. It's laid out for the purposes of having corporate event parties and stuff and being able to close off and isolate lands away from everybody else. So you can have an operating theme park and you can have these corporate kind of parties, so to speak. And they're actually, from what I understand, they're asking and reaching out to companies and corporations and going, what IPs would you like to have as part of a corporate event? Are you more interested in Harry Potter? Are you more interested in some Illuminations IP or whatever? And those kind of questions and those survey results are actually influencing how they construct this park out there at Epic Universe. So the dynamic around these things, it's changing fast. And
And I think
that's an interesting conversation.
It's going to be a big hit on Disney's part that when Epic Universe does open, it's going to be Harry Potter all over again, where they're going to have to beckon the call of saying, okay, this isn't just a land. This is a whole entire new theme park with Nintendo World and How to Train Your Dragon and the classic Universal monsters. And it's like they're going to have to come up with something to level the field, because then all they're going to have is, okay, well, Universal has a new theme park, you know, lots more of attractions, lots more entertainment, lots more to this to do. But that's okay. You know, we'll have these little after hour parties and we'll just jack up the price another $500.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, the thing too with Disney, and I've noticed this, I have several females in my household, and I've done a lot of mall shopping in my day. Let me just say that.
Okay.
A lot of walking around, following behind kind of thing, right? You've all been there. I'm sure, Mr. Family Man, you've been there holding the purse while they go.
Absolutely. That's you speak my language there, so
I've done that a lot.
This stereotyping, I'm just not comfortable with, fellas. No, I'm joking. Let's be honest here. You know, there are some of us who shop a little bit more than other places. I've definitely been where you're at.
But yeah, and I've been to a lot of these, you know, these high-end stores, whether it be like, you know, like Cartier or you know, whatever, Tiffany's or all these different places, right? And I noticed a similarity between a lot of these high-end kind of retail stores and Disney. You know, when you go to the mall, right? You don't have to make a reservation to go into Spencer's or Hot Topic. You just walk right in. It's all good. You walk right in. But Cartier, no. As of now, you still have to make a reservation to get into their store. It's a very exclusive kind of thing. You know, you gotta make the reservation. It reminds me so much of Disney. I mean, in the sense where it's like, you have all these other theme parks, like Knott's, you know, that just let you in. They're hot. It's like Hot Topic. They just let you in. It's fine. The high end, though, the luxury stores, they don't let you just in. They're continuing this reservation process. And I wonder if that's the model Disney kind of wants to go forward now, where it's like they're kind of they want to be seen as like the Cartier of the theme parks. You need to be on the guest list, my friend. You can't just walk in Disney. No. You got to be on the list. Now, I don't agree with that, but that seems to be the energy they're going with.
Yeah,
I've been to a lot of stores lately, and that's the energy that Disney is giving, is the same energy as those high-end stores like Cartier. It's crazy.
Well, and that's absolutely correct. Look, you got to understand, Chapek, he's a retail guy. He understands the retail trends and, you know, what businesses are doing and what these, you know, brands that are perceived as high end, what they do, what their practices are. I mean, look, it's no secret. I mean, Disney, from what I understand, they're targeting that upper kind of 6th percentile worth of household income kind of consumer, right? Because for them, you know, they don't bulk when it comes to the nickel and diming practices that Disney's kind of employing a little step by step now, right? They don't have a limit. You know, it's like, hey, I'm on vacation. Let's get the finest accommodations available. Let's you know, stay a few more days, really get our money's worth via Genie Plus or any of these other experiences, and let's go with the, you know, high end dining and what I can pay $200 per person or whatever it is for. What is it? Priority seating at the fireworks? Of course, I'm going to do that. I mean, Disney is targeting those folks, and in some ways, it's smart because you do have a limited supply, right? You can't have everybody come in. You kind of have to, you know, get a little choosy when it comes to your demographic, and that's what they're doing, and it's an interesting tactic.
Yeah, it's definitely. I definitely see the similarities there. I definitely see it. But I want to thank you both for coming on. I do appreciate. It's been too long. It's been I think like a month since we've done all three of us together, and it feels great to be back. I love you guys, and Dre, you're on vacation, man. I mean, I can't thank you enough, man, for taking a few moments of doing this with us today.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you so much. But we're gonna close it out. I'm gonna go ahead and start with George, and then we'll work our way down to Mr. Freshly Squeezed. George, if you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. You can find me on YouTube as Disney Family Man 23, which is also my Instagram account. You could follow me on Twitter, which I have been more active than usual at Disney George. And of course, you can find me on Orange Grove 55's channel with Citrus Corner. So definitely check us out there.
Perfect. And VashSky, Dre, where can everybody at home find you on social media, sir?
The best place to find me on social media, or at least interact with me, is on Twitter, at VashSky. It should be at the bottom of this profile picture, like I said before. But in case not, it's at VashSky, at V as in Victor, ASHSKY. That's where you can find me. And where you can see me, well, I'm on your channel, Orange Grove D5, at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. So best place to find me. And yes, George has been on Twitter more, but those hot takes, man, they're fire, buddy. You should definitely follow George, man. He's great.
No, George, yeah, you're great, George. We love you, brother. We love you. Like, yeah, I like spicy George. I like spicy George.
I do.
I have my moments.
Yes. For me, I just, I really choose and pick and choose where I will strike my ire. But when I do, it's going to be fantastic. Yeah, no. I love it, George. I absolutely do. And keep up the great work. I'll be right here, and we'll get into the swing of things soon. But it's been really, really fun to.
But as you mentioned to us yesterday, Dre, we got the band back together, so it's always great.
Back together, man. Oh, yes. This was fun. This is awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and from what I understand, you'll be going to the Disneyland again this week, Dre?
Yeah, we're gonna shoot for tomorrow. Weather was kind of crazy. It was like, are we gonna get stormed out? But it looks like those things have been averted, so looks like we are good to go. And we have a reservation for Wednesday. So go ahead.
And I know we're closing it up, but now this time you will then have the choice for Genie Plus. Yes,
we will. They debuted the program earlier in the week, or last week. So they've gotten a few more days under their belts, and it looks like it's working well enough to take a chance on it. So I don't know if we're going to do it. There might not be a need, honestly. The parks have been quite enjoyable, at least from a standby wait perspective. But we might, and if we do, I will absolutely have my full review. Ron Orange Go for D5 at Freshly Squeezed or Conversation or whatever. I will definitely get it out to you.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. And Dre, honestly, even if it rains, Disney's honestly one of my favorite experiences at Disney is Disneyland in the rain. Call me crazy. I love Disneyland in the rain. It's gorgeous. And the crowds are even thinner than they are, they're at its thinnest during the rain, and I think you'll get on a lot of attractions if it does rain. So that's the upside to it.
I was thinking so. Look, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for that rain. I'm all for to enjoy kind of a different atmosphere when it comes to the park, right? Some of my other party members though aren't so fond of the idea. C'est la vie. I can only do so much. Yeah. But yes, I do agree with you. I think it's awesome.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you guys for coming on, and thank you all for watching another episode of Orange Grove 55. Comment down below with all your opinions and your everything that we talked about today in regards to Disneyland operations, cast members, Knott's. Have you been to Knott's? Have you not been to Knott's? What are your thoughts on Knott's in comparison to Disneyland? All that good stuff. We would love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.